Now, before we get into this, let's do a dab together to celebrate all these albums as well as the new year coming up, depending on when I get this uploaded. Made that a little too hot.
Put your pussy lips on live, I'll give you $1,000.
Almost shit myself. What is up, my dudes? It's your boy, Skinny Penis, and I'm back with something different. It's not really another reaction, so I can't say another one. Today, we are going to discuss the top 10 best metal albums of 2022, in my opinion, of course. And since it's my channel, it's the only one that really matters. There was a lot of really good albums this year, and I know we already talked about the most disappointing albums this year for me. We don't want to just focus on the negatives, we want to talk about the high notes too, so we're going to talk about some of my personal favorites, because man, some serious fucking fire was released this year. Now, a couple things to consider as we go along this list. Obviously, I have genres that I favor. I've really fallen in love with slam. I love death metal. I love deathcore. I don't give a shit how much shit it gets. So if you don't see an album on here that you think deserves to be here, one, go ahead and comment, because I may have missed it. Like, I have so much music sent my way that, you know, I can't possibly catch everything. I'm rating these on how much I enjoyed them, but there is also a bit of a consideration in there for what the genre is. For example, I don't really like hardcore music. So if an hardcore album is on here, it might be ranked a little higher than other albums, because the fact that you made me enjoy a hardcore album is impressive. Okay? So on and so forth. And most of all, as I said, this is just my opinion. If you've got something that you think is better, then go ahead and comment it down below. Or better yet, just share yours down below, whether you agree or disagree with me. I'm always interested to hear what everyone's top albums of the year are. I ask on my page every year what everyone's suggestions are, and I always enjoy reading them. Now, again, I cannot stress this enough. There was no voting system on this amongst the public. I am not saying that this is any type of poll. This is just my personal opinion on what I enjoyed most this year. Let's get into it, shall we? Now, let's start that countdown. Coming in at number 10, I gotta go with Agonal Breathing, Bloodthirsty Mutilation. Agonal Breathing has become a band that I love to listen to regularly, and it's strictly for the just obnoxious, gurgly, just caveman brutality of Brandon's vocals. There's just something about the way that gurgly guttural just rips through my headphones and just shakes my entire body that is so satisfying, and it's what I needed in my life. But with this new album, Bloodthirsty Mutilation, we saw a more technical or involved side from them musically. And yes, there was definitely plenty of songs that were just basic dirty slam. I'm blanking on the song names at the moment, but there were also several songs that introduced some new elements, and the guitar work on them was just really fucking cool. There's a lot of slam that, you know, if you play them back to back to back to back, it's gonna sound pretty much the same. This new album, I can pick out of a crowd no problem, because it's different. It's old, gross, brutal Agonal Breathing, but it's different from everybody else, and that's why it makes my list. Number 9, probably the most just, I don't even know what to use for this, gory and grotesque on the list. We have Vile Impregnation, Slave. This album's dark, okay? Like, I believe the band identifies as like a slamming brutal death metal band, which they definitely fit that criteria, but man, like some of the, especially the vocals and just how fast and aggressive they play, it's almost like fucking gore grind, which I'm still kind of familiarizing myself with some of the more extreme subgenres, so if I've got that a little wrong, you know, don't crucify me in the comments, just educate me. It's just from beginning to end, it's just obnoxious, disgusting brutality. And it's all the topics of the song are extremely dark. I'm not gonna go through them all because then YouTube might just straight up take the video down. Because they've already started putting 18 plus filters on all my on a bunch of my videos just from the bands and the names alone. Some albums that are written in such a way kind of like I can't get into them because it feels like it's dark for the sake of being dark. And admittedly, guys, there's some of that stuff. It does make me a tad uncomfortable. Some of it hits a little too close to home. And I can't always listen to a song with topics like that in the song. But I don't know. It's just the right level of holy shit, this is fucked up. But thrown in with a oh my god, this is brutal, this is fast, this is awesome. And it makes me love it no matter what. So, Vile Impregnation, I've become a pretty big fan over this year. I am greatly looking forward to see what you guys have going on next. Alright, number 8, we have Acranius, Mercy Denied. Now, I'm a fairly new Acranius fan due to the fact I'm kind of new to Slam altogether. But I'm a fairly new Acranius fan. I found them when they started putting out singles for this album, I think was when I discovered them. However, I quickly became a fan. I especially love their early work. I mean, not to say that the new stuff's not good, but boy howdy, that first album. Acranius, while their sound has shifted some, they are still brutal. You know, they're still Slam. But their sound has evolved in a way where I would say it's a little easier for the average listener. Because when I found them, I was still kind of easing my way into Slam. You know, I was getting familiar with it, but I wasn't quite where I am now, where I can listen to all of it. There was still stuff that was hard to digest. And Acranius was a band that really helped me start to understand Slam a little better, and helped me get more into the mindset to where I could actually, you know, appreciate what's going on. The problem with why a lot of people don't like Slam and stuff like that is because it is kind of hard to digest at times. And if you're not already into heavy stuff, it's going to be even harder. Like, I never understood why people want their normie friends to get into metal, but rather than showing them something and easing them into it, they just throw them into Waking the Cadaver. I mean, I love Waking the Cadaver too. If you're trying to get somebody into metal, and you show them Slam, and all they listen to is country music, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna get them that way. You gotta ease them into it. I mean, show them some of Slipknot's newer stuff, you know? Like, some of the stuff that still made it on the radio, but was, like, on the remotely heavy side. Like, you know, introduce them to some metalcore and, you know, shit like that. You gotta work them up to it. I forgot why I went on this tangent. Acranius is a band that is great for getting people into this genre. I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean it as a compliment. They're an awesome gateway band to Slam. I mean, even my girlfriend, she doesn't listen to Slam, but I've been slowly getting her into metal by showing her metalcore, deathcore, that kind of stuff. And she fucking loves Spite. And I played this in the car one day, and she loved it. If I had just dropped her into the middle of this when we first started dating, it would not have gone as well, and fairly certain she wouldn't have called me back. There's just so many high-energy, powerful songs on the album. It's like, if I'm just feeling really worn out, and I've still got a lot to do, and I need something to kind of give me a little boost, I put this album on. It has gotten me through so many work days. Alright, number 7, we have Knifeful, The Creation of God. Now, I could be off here, but as far as like what genre they are, and I may have this wrong, but I would say that Knifeful is somewhere between like slamming deathcore with some black metal elements and like down-tempo deathcore, and at the time like technical deathcore. Like, it's fucking weird. It's kind of hard to nail down exactly what genre you could pin them as, because they play way more technical shit than 99% of deathcore bands out there. but they have some of the most disgusting, filthy, festering, just decaying breakdowns you will ever hear. Just like that real grimy shit, that fucking alien shit. Like when she's going down on you and she starts beatboxing on your butthole type shit. Just like, it's like choking. Oh, that's wrong. No, we're not going with that. Seriously though, most of the time we can't get brutality like this unless it's like real caveman music work, you know, like real chuggy and everything, but it's really cool to have both sides of it because they have the orchestral stuff, they have really awesome instrumental stuff. Whoever plays guitar for them, holy shit, dude. I don't really know much about this project, but I assume there's at least a guitar player, and then I know Derek is the vocalist. I don't know if Derek, if you do it all, in which case, like, holy shit, what the fuck? How can you do vocals like that and play like that? We need to talk about that, perhaps in an interview. I would tell you a little bit about the story of the album, but I'm afraid that I might have a little off base here, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. But it's got a really cool story to it, and the storytelling throughout the album is very fitting. And man, you wouldn't think there's 1,000 ways to write the most just disgusting breakdown you've ever heard, but there's so many breakdowns, and they all slap so hard. I don't recommend listening to it while you drive, because that can get dangerous. Coming up at number 6, we got Tar Creek, Consumed. Now, this one is kind of a weird one for me, because it is hardcore. It's melodic hardcore, actually, I believe is their actual genre. And as I've said in the intro, I really don't listen to hardcore. I'm not really a fan of it. Especially the vocal style that they tend to go with. I find it annoying. But man, Tar Creek has a little bit something different about their sound that I appreciate. You can tell that everyone in the band is a pretty well-rounded musician as far as what they listen to, because I guess the problem I have with hardcore music is the people writing it only listen to hardcore music, you know, so that's why they all sound the fucking same. But man, the guitar work is so good. It's so fitting, and it's so, just the tone is, The bass tone has nice distortion on it that I just fucking love, but it's not muddy. That's the perfect balance that's hard to find. It's like a fucking unicorn. And Ashton has such a deep, diverse blend of vocalists he looks up to that it all just kind of meshed together into this really awesome sound. I mean, I know he loves Ben Dure from A Shadow of Intent, and then, like, the dude from CU Space Cowboy is a big one for him. Those are very different people, very different styles. But everything just meshes together where, yes, it is melodic hardcore. You know that from listening to it, but it's just so much better than normal. Like, someone handed you a frozen pizza, that's hardcore. Someone makes you a fucking pizza, that's Tar Creek. I think it's safe to say that that dab is hitting way harder than I thought it would. Number 5, Texas Murder Crew, Wrapped in Their Blood. I found them because they were suggested for my daily listens on Spotify, which is weird because normally Spotify doesn't give me good extreme metal at all. I remember looking at the art and just thinking it was fucking dope. Like, it was gross and dirty, and, you know, like, you feel bad for the fella, but the artwork was just so sick. I was like, alright, I'll see what this is. And I listened to it, and man, I was not disappointed. It's just riffed for fucking days on that entire album, and their vocalist, while he is slam, he's intelligible, and you can understand him pretty easy. So this would be another band that I would say would be good to use to get someone into the genre, because you can actually understand him. If you can understand deathcore vocals, then you can understand he has that similar level of clarity just in a slam vocal style, which is impressive because slam is very dirty, and it's easy to get everything all mumbled up and mixed. I think even their previous album was really, really good, but man, they stepped it up with the second album, and this is a damn good album. I've listened to it so many fucking times. I found this album last, like, maybe the beginning of December, and I've probably listened to it 20 times. So, damn good work. Alright, number 4, Ozzy Osbourne, Patient number 9. Now, I know it's not really someone we talk about a lot on here because we tend to stick with the heavier side of metal, especially here lately with Slam and Brutal Death. But I'm actually a very, very big Ozzy Osbourne fan. Ozzy is the reason I got into metal. Black Sabbath was the first metal band I was ever shown. I was 8 years old, and one of my family friends had a record of some of the Black Sabbath greatest hits, and I saw the song Iron Man, and I said, I want to listen to that because I'm a fucking nerd, and just completely changed my life. It's the reason the channel exists. So, Ozzy Osbourne is somebody that I greatly look up to. However, I don't let that change how I feel about certain albums. He does have albums I don't really like. He has albums that I think are a lot weaker than others. And then he's got a lot that I just fucking love. However, Patient number 9 is definitely one that I really, really love. And because this album is just fan service to all of the Ozzy fans throughout all of the eras of his music. It has that old school, like when Ozzy first went out under his solo name. It has that old school feel on a couple of songs. It's got that Black Sabbath feel with the opening track, Patient number 9. It features Jeff Beck, but that bass groove that's playing throughout the song is old school Black Sabbath to a fucking T. And I've listened to that song so many fucking times just because of that bass groove. And then, you know, we all heard it was happening, but he did not one, but 2 songs with Tony Iommi on this one, which, just, you know, if you don't know who Tony Iommi is, like, he's the reason metal exists, you know. He got his fingers sliced off, invented drop tuning, and here we are. So, I mean, I thought it was awesome to bring Tony back, and I'm glad he's doing well, because I believe he had cancer. And, of course, you can't forget Zakk Wylde, who's on 4 tracks. Zakk Wylde is probably my favorite guitarist that Ozzy had in his solo career. I think the stuff that him and Zakk Wylde wrote together is some of Ozzy's best work. Black Rain is still, to this day, one of my favorite albums, and I bought that when I was, like, 14. The album, like I said, it's got a little bit of everything from all of his albums, from every era of Ozzy, and that's why I say this album is just fan service, is because it's everything we want to see in one album. So it was an album definitely written for his fans, and I mean, man, I fucking loved it, and I appreciate every bit of it. Number 3, Canine, Carnage. I found Canine very recently, actually, like, as of this recording, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but since I just finally listened to that album, I haven't been able to stop listening to it. I listen to it a lot now, and just in the last 2 weeks, I mean, it's pretty much been on repeat while I'm working. It's a very heavy, very bouncy album. It's like workout music all the time. Not that I obviously work out or anything, but it's just the perfect level of high energy and brutality as far as like the slamming genre goes. I don't know if I'd consider this slam or slamming death metal or what. I honestly don't know what the fuck it is, but it's fucking fire. I know that. So Canine, it's a newer project. I think this is the only thing they even have out. I don't really know anything about them, but I would definitely recommend Canine and check out their album Carnage. Number 2, Spire of Lazarus, Soaked in the Sands. Spire of Lazarus is not a band I hear a lot of people talk about. I came across them by mistake 3 years ago, and I mean, I remember thinking that their guitar work was like, it was like the really obnoxious technical shit about Rings of Saturn I did like, but without Lucas Mann's shit attitude. And then I just didn't think about them for a while. And one day that band came back up on my playlist, and I went to their profile, saw they put out this album, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about them, because they're really, really fucking good. It's like, if you like stuff like that was like Rings of Saturn, but just thought it was hair obnoxious, then Spire of Lazarus is for you. Not only that, but like the vocalist, man, he has these highs. He has these these fucking ear-piercing highs. Not squeals, but those high screams like Infuri does. He's got very impressive range because they kind of go all over the place, and they write surprisingly pretty shit too. Now, I don't want to make myself sound like a fool by trying to pronounce these song names because I'm not gonna lie, most of them I'm just taking a stab at it. But my favorite song on the album, I believe, is called Farah. It's definitely the prettiest song on the album, but it's also, you know, very impressive. Like, there's some very long solos in it that I love every bit of it. There's a lot of stuff that if it ends up like too heavily instrumental and it's just constant shred, I kind of like trail off and stop listening to it. But this is just the right level to anyone who starts to trail off. It pulls you right back in. You know, it flows very nicely. There's 8 songs on this album, but the album is 40 minutes long, and that's another thing I like, is they can write some damn songs. They're not just writing a couple of tracks. There's nothing wrong with having short songs, but I don't like the fact that grindcore songs are like not even a minute long half the time. They write good length songs, but that's the thing, is they're not boring. You know, they're exciting the whole way through. So they have that perfect ratio where they can write those long epic songs, but they cannot lose your attention, which is impressive in and of itself because most bands don't know how to do that. Okay, and the number 1 album of the year according to Bill, Paleface, Fear and Dagger. I heard a lot of back and forth in the metal community on like whether or not they liked it, because they definitely did go for a cleaner sound. Not necessarily, it's not that it's not heavy anymore, but it is a little bit of a cleaner sound. They had one song that was really unusually pretty for them. Like, it had clean singing. Apparently this motherfucker can sing too, not just scream. But the song is called My Grave Lay With Me, and it starts with him just fucking rapping, and then the band comes in, and then he's singing, and it's beautiful. But I understand why some of their old fans don't like that, because Paleface used to be a very different sounding band over the last couple albums. But this is probably the only album, even in the list, that doesn't have a song that I'll skip. Because every album that I've talked about so far, there's at least 1 or 2 that I'll skip for whatever reason. It's not to say that they're bad songs, they just weren't ones that I preferred. This album, all the way through, from beginning to end, 16 tracks, one of them's an intro, so that one doesn't really count. I can go through and listen to it without skipping any songs and be completely fine with it. And that album is 1 hour and 6 minutes. I can barely keep my attention going long enough to record these damn videos. You have any idea how much I have to clip out in the end because I trail off and lose my train of thought like I'm doing right now? Paleface has actually seen a great amount of success because of this, and I mean, I think they're about as Slipknot inspired as one can be without being Slipknot ripoff, but with that new beatdown feel added to it. Normally, I'm not real big on beatdown. Some of it reminds me a little too much of hardcore. If I remember correctly, the band's genre is listed as new beatdown, but it's very high energy, aggressive. It'll hype you up. If you're about to fight God, just listen to this album. Like, especially, like, I think the song's called Death Touch. Just like motherfucker spitting. I would say this, if you are an old school Slipknot fan and you like that old, fast, aggressive Slipknot, then you should fuck with Paleface, because they are, in my opinion, one of the best up-and-coming bands out right now. And they're coming to the US for the first time in 2023, March 8th. I've already got my tickets. I'm so fucking excited. I can't wait to see them live and hopefully meet them and fangirl until they kick me out. So that was my top 10 albums of the year. There are so many more that I love that we just didn't have time to talk about. If I thought anybody would have actually watched it, I could have made this a top 20 list, but honestly, picking 10 out of the 30 or 40 that I had as contenders was hard enough. This is definitely the hardest one to make, because every year that I've made these, this is the third one I've made, there was always a clear winner for me. This one, not really the case. Those top 4, either one of them could have been in any order, but I had to go down to the smallest, minute details of why I like them to decide. There was some really, really great work out this year, and some very underappreciated works out there. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and please comment below, what were your favorite albums this year? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let's discuss like civilized adults and not neck-bearded children. Skinny penis up.